And we are breaking news right now as we take a live look at the White House. The United States now expected to reach its debt limit.
The debt limit established by Congress is the maximum amount that the federal government can borrow to pay its bills. And it's looking more and more likely our country will hit the debt ceiling today.
Let's go.
Here's how I think. I'm just going to tell you how I think about it. I think about it like as a credit card. As credit, like there's a certain amount. You have a limit on how much. And why am I talking about this? Fennell's the financial expert. Tell me, am I on the right track here, Fennell?
So you're on the right track, except think about the credit card, but the bill is due. So we're not talking about stuff that we're getting ready to buy. This is stuff that we've already done. So at this point, the bill is due. And so when we have these discussions about the debt ceiling, because we're having the discussions to other countries, to folks who rate us, it already looks bad. And so now we have these crazy people, and that's what I'm going to call them because that's who they are, crazy people who are having these discussions about a bill that we owe. And I just think it's a non-discussion because we need to pay our bill. And when we don't do it, then that's when we have things like a horrible recession. They were talking about a recession before, but if you want to pour ourselves into a decline, let's not pay our bills and see what happens.
I don't think that any Republican really cares about the debt ceiling. They're all, Kevin McCarthy is leading the charge right now on this. But recent history will prove that they don't really care because they certainly didn't care when Trump was giving tax cuts to the wealthiest people in the country. And they didn't care when Trump was ignoring basic safety guidelines when we were being consumed by COVID. And that, because he did, that's one of the reasons why it's taking us so long to get back out of that hole. I think that the only reason Republicans want to drag this country into financial peril is because there's a way that they can probably pin that on Joe Biden, since so many people just directly blame the president for everything that's going on in the world, in their lives on a day-to-day basis. I think ultimately, that they're hoping that that's going to make him look bad and make them look like they're fiscally responsible. Meanwhile, they're giving subsidies to coal and oil and gas and agriculture. And they say, well, we can't spend money on Social Security and Medicare. We can't. We got to cut that. And we're not gonna negotiate on the debt ceiling until you do that. Meanwhile, they're shoveling money to all of their rich friends. It's And as you said, we've been here before. If you're old enough, you have seen this stupid fight go down over and over and over again. But it's all the Republicans have right now.
Yeah, and that's why I think these discussions are so important because it's not MSNBC, it's not CNN, it's just us talking about why it's important, why you should care about this discussion now, why you should take notice, and why you should watch what the people that you voted for, you should watch what they do.
Kevin McCarthy wants to put a big stake through Social Security and a big stake through Medicare. And you think about all of the millions of people in this country who have been paying into it, and as Mary has said, we don't have a choice. That money goes in whether we like it or not. And he wants to pull that money out. Who do you think's going to get that money? The uppers. That's who's going to end up with that money.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting is, we always have this discussion about whose interest is it in. And so all these folks who are running around with Make America Great Again and Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, people who support them, because there are millions and millions of people who have supported them. So this is what you supported. And I just want to ask you, is this what you want? So now that you got it, so is this how you want to live? And I'm so curious for somebody to just go a step further in one of these discussions with these crazy people that they interview who answer questions with answers that make no sense. I just want them to go a step further. Just ask one more question about what they do. One more question about if they get Social Security. One more question about if they get Medicare or Medicaid. One more question about, how they live their lives. Because I just want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, dum-dum.
Well, I think it's our job to continue to remind those same folks that under President Trump, the Republicans added to our debt. They added $7 trillion to our debt. We wouldn't be in this predicament had it not been for that. Let's remember, it's what they did. This is what they did. It's not a policy issue. It's just them doubling down on hurting Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure out the debt ceiling, get that resolved, and then if you want to argue all of these other things on the floor, go right ahead. If you want to argue Medicare, if you want to argue Social Security, you have earned the right as a member of the House of Representatives to argue about that on the floor. But don't tie the two things together. They are not connected. And I think a lot of people forget because Social Security is just taken out of your check. You don't ever really think about it. You got to really look at that pay stub and see all of those deductions that the government is taking out of your paycheck and start thinking about, gee, where is that money going? Who's trying to protect that it goes to a place that will someday be able to benefit me? And Kevin McCarthy is like, no, you're not going to get any of that. So screw you. Keep paying in, but you're not going to get any of it on the back end.
Let's go.